Through the chair, I note that we are now live streaming on YouTube and we are all set. So I turn the meeting over to you, Mayor, as chair. Thank you.
And thank you for that. It is 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. For additional information, please visit the municipal website to view information regarding the proposal. There are no additions to the agenda, so I'm going to look for disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, then under delegations, presentations, and petitions, members of the public that have respected to speak this evening will be given a maximum of 10 minutes to address council and provide their comments. In keeping with our procedural bylaw and our R-zone policy, I would remind all of our meeting participants to use respectful language and uphold our values of cooperation, trust, and openness. After you've finished speaking or presenting, members of the council may ask questions. After all the members of the public who have registered to delegate have been given an opportunity to address council, I will ask council to consider item 6.1, being the declaration of surplus property for the Komoka Community Centre. So we'll move on to the delegations, and our first delegate is Mr. Paul Houghton.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and the floor is yours, Mr. Houghton. Go ahead.
All right, if I'm going to be the opening act every week, I'm going to want to break in my taxes. Anyway.
Hard act to follow.
Yeah. Paul Houghton, 200 Delaware Street, North Komoka. Madam Mayor and Deputy Mayor, Council, and staff. In the next few minutes, I will plead my case on behalf of the community to council to get at least 4 votes to turn this recommendation down. To those council members who have already decided to turn the staff recommendation down, the community thanks you. I apologize to you for having to listen to me again. You can build it anywhere, but not over the park and community center. That really sums up what the majority of residents feel about this proposal. I've gone through the 200+ comments sent to council. I have only seen one comment that straight up supports this proposal. That comment came from Mount Bridges. Just FYI, I saw the kids from Mount Bridges enjoying the community center front meeting room just a few weeks back. It has come to my attention that the investor group had difficulty acquiring the land that they need in the area of the wellness center. That is not the community's problem to solve by giving up parkland in its community center. On May 18th, council will be addressing a zoning request to change 4 acres of commercially zoned property to residential. This commercial property is just down the street from the wellness center. Maybe this would be a good location for this business. Sometimes the council of yes needs to become the council of no. I know it is not easy, but Middlesex Center needs to better control the zoning narrative in our community. What is being recommended for our park is a result of not getting landowners to work with the municipality and helping to execute the planning division vision. Landowners are changing our vision to better serve theirs and are used to getting their way. Let's spend time resolving this issue of commercial site availability and not default to using parkland for commercial development. With that being said, I will need to turn my attention to defending our parkland and community center. Selling green space for development is not an issue unique to Middlesex Center. Although larger in scale, the Council of Vaughan was faced with making a decision on green space in 2019. Excuse me. It was June 23rd, 2015 that a Sports Village business complex presented to Vaughan Council a proposal to expand into 33 acres of publicly owned green space. It was huge. It was a $154 million proposal of 4 ice rinks, 2 baseball diamonds, and a private school. Vaughan Council directed staff to follow up on the presentation and report back to council. That's the way it should happen. After 4 years of public meetings and financial review, the council unanimously turned down the proposal. After the vote, Vaughan's mayor sent a letter to the community stating that, quote, This decision sends a very strong message to the citizens of Vaughan. We listened. We appreciate your input. We give your opinion the respect it justly deserves. Let me be clear, no project gets approved in our city without it being in the public interest, unquote. Vaughan is one of many councils who have chosen to preserve green space over development. I hope this is the choice our council makes as well. Unfortunately, residents are conditioned to think council always approve recommendations in favor of the developer and that you will approve this staff recommendation. Our committee recognizes that we are opposing a recommendation and that our responsibility is to get the community engaged and present their comments to council. We have done that. It is not known when staff and council discussed this matter prior to it being on the April 6th agenda, but you did. You're all savvy enough to know when first hearing about this recommendation, it would garner significant opposition to the location of the proposal. You did not have to see a single comment to know this. For some of you, I do not know where you stand on this recommendation, and I offer the following to help you make the right decision. I hope you know that the Wellness Center does not replace the Komoka Community Center, that the Komoka Wellness Center is really the Middlesex Center Wellness Center. Komoka Kilworth does not have two community centers. I hope you know that you have identified a community service program assistant as a new hire in the 22 budget, that by selling off the community center, you are removing a valuable tool from the staffer's toolbox to promote recreational programs in Komoka. I hope you know that the Optimist and Gateway Church are good tenants, doing lots of great things from the community out of that center. I hope you know that you should not be putting this facility in an established residential neighborhood. I hope you know that the financial benefits stating by staff could be realized by the sale of any community center. I hope you know that the benefits to the community are not dependent on this site, that this proposal will have both a short and long-term negative impact on the enjoyment of the park by young and old, present and future residents, and that building this business on park and community center land is not in the best interest of the community. Maybe you have convinced yourself that the public are uninformed whiners who don't understand the scope of this project. I will not comment on being a whiner, but the community does know the scope of this project. But to be blunt, we don't need to understand the scope of this project. The issue is about what is being recommended to be done to the park. You might think that the community will come around and accept losing their community center and parkland. They will not. To put in context the financial impact of eliminating the community center, I have some numbers to present based on a $400,000 property assessment and facts presented at the last meeting by the Director of Community Services. On the average, taxpayers pay $2.10 a year to cover the Komoka Community Center operational deficit. Averaging the 5-year total capital expenditures over that same time period, taxpayers paid $15.62 for the Komoka Community Center. So the average taxpayer pays $1.47 of tax per month to keep the Komoka Community Center around. Compared to what I pay for other items in the budget, I really consider this a deal. What has been great for the Save the Park Committee to see is that regardless of age, the community is united and leaving the park alone. I was handing out information leaflets in the neighborhood and came across families coming back from the Optimist Easter egg hunt. They felt the same way I did about this recommendation. Some say this is a bunch of old people dreaming about the past. This is not. We are a bunch of old people dreaming about the future for our children and grandchildren in this area, along with the young people of Komoka Kilworth. I would ask council and staff to think about those young people in the 70s that embarked on a path of community service and dedication. 50 years has gone by so quickly. We have all aged. In another 20 years, most of this generation will be gone. But we take comfort in that there are so many young residents that are now beginning their journey of community service and volunteerism. Yes, the community center will have to go at some time, but now is not the time. There is still value in keeping it around. Let's do whatever we can to avoid those young residents of the 70s from witnessing the destruction of the community center. I think they deserve that. We know that those running for re-election would much rather talk about their support of parkland and community centers versus how they sold off parkland for development that could have been built elsewhere. A decision to sell off parkland is indefensible given that there are other options available. If this recommendation proceeds, it will be a constant reminder to residents of all ages of what was and who allowed this to happen to our park. It will not be a story of pride, but rather of one of betrayal by its elected officials. Members of council, it's time to make a decision. Is it more important to make your community happy or these investors? Make this a unanimous no and help them find another location. Finally, council should invite the Ontario Healthcare Coalition to speak to them for their insight on private and public healthcare clinics. I know the investors have stated this business will be public, but that does not mean that council and staff should not be educated on the issue of private versus public healthcare. Thank you for having this meeting and allowing me the opportunity to speak again. I would also like to thank all the Komoka Kilworth residents who took the time to send in their comments and speak at these meetings. Special thanks to the Director of Corporate Services with her assistance in helping me understand some numbers. Rest in peace, Guy Lafleur, and peace to Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Houghton. Our next presenter is Mr. Paul Manili.
Through the chair, we've prompted the delegate to join us on the line. We'll give it another minute or so, but we may need to move to the next delegate in our list, and we can certainly revisit Mr. Manili. And so our next delegate would be Renee McGregor in that case.
Hello.
Mr. Manili. Oh,
Well, it's actually Mrs. Manili, but I'll give you to Mr. Manili right now.
I apologize. We had some technical difficulties.
not to worry. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So Paul Manili, 143 Simcoe Crescent, Komoka, Ontario. Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors and staff. On May 1st, I invited each of you to join me for a walking tour of our park and a meaningful discussion on the impact of the proposed changes to our park. I would like to thank the two council members that made it a priority to meet, and I believe we had meaningful conversations. To summarize, the timelines on a project of this impact and scope are suspiciously short, with little consideration given for the many community groups and residents that will be affected. Not one of the stated positive impacts for the community change if this facility is built elsewhere in Komoka on appropriate commercially zoned land. There will be a negative impact on the park, as 4 times the existing building and parking lot area will be hard surfaced, which is substantially more than stated in the presentations. Each of the presentations had new changes, which makes one suspicious that no one really knows what we will end up with. We are just being given tidbits in an attempt to appease us in order to keep the veil of secrecy around this project in place. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. The negative impact on railway heritage preservation that is so important to Komoka area. The negative impact on the Komoka Kilworth Optimist Club and its membership losing their home and facilities for fundraising for the youth activities and community as a whole. The negative impact on minor baseball losing a ball diamond that is key to skill development and is an element of the continuum. The negative impact on minor soccer in Komoka, once again removing a field that is key in skill development as youth progress through the levels. To move facilities to new locations makes it inconvenient for families and sport associations that do so much of the field preparation. The negative impact on the individuals that use the Komoka Community Center for fitness. At present, only Delaware and Komoka Community Centers are capable of providing facilities suitable for pickleball and many other activities. I can tell you that there are far many more players than courts, and the area is rapidly growing. You're proposing to eliminate 1/2 of the existing facilities within all of Middlesex Center. If there has been a traffic study, which should have been done very early in this process, it has not been made public to my knowledge. For a commercial development of this size to be placed in a park on one of our major roads that traffic controls just get ignored by most drivers, between two schools with no sidewalks, with the entrance against the playground, and the knowledge that alcohol will be served if there is a VIP lounge, would seem to place the township in a position of tremendous liability in case of tragedy. Komoka does not need a bar or restaurant in a subdivision. Stormwater runoff issues. The existing building and parking lot have caused runoff problems for neighbors across the street for years. Various measures have been attempted with little improvement. If this proposal goes through with a building and parking lot that will cover 4 times the area, the existing area, one can only imagine the problems that will be created for those residents and possibly more. I think that a study should be done before moving ahead any further. We will experience a loss of enjoyment of our properties in the immediate area, with the immense building blocking our view of parkland, sports fields, and the golf course. The increased traffic, noise, and light pollution and litter may cause us to experience a devaluation in our property value. Who are we kidding? Komoka doesn't need a sports and entertainment facility in a residential neighborhood. The Komoka Wellness Center, which should have been named the Middlesex Center Wellness Center, is not for the people of Komoka, as most will never use it. If you don't play hockey and can't afford to join the YMCA, that building has nothing to offer. Even the library services can be accessed online. It doesn't offer the same opportunities to the residents as the Komoka Community Center. The numbers for community center usage and revenue have been cherry-picked in order to target the Komoka Community Center as surplus. The actual numbers show several other community centers with much lower usage and revenue numbers. Why aren't they being shuttered as well if it's about numbers, as council says? Rather than allow the community to remain galvanized in its purpose, this endeavor will serve to cleave the heart out of the community and forever discourage volunteerism. The recently resurfaced tennis courts, the improvements to the T-ball diamond, and the recently installed heating system in the Komoka Community Center will all be wasted taxpayers' money if this project goes ahead. I haven't heard any arguments that convince me Komoka would be better off at this facility in our park that would not be achieved by building it anywhere else. There's a tremendous downside to the community, however, and council has to listen carefully to the groups that have provided impact statements. Council, I say to you, you may be within your legal rights to proceed with this project, but you do not have the moral right to take park and recreational land away. Your decision will forever negatively impact the residents, young and old, in how they are able to live, work, and play in our corner of Middlesex Center. Your moral obligation is to preserve, protect, and enhance our parks for community members of all ages, now and into the future, not pandering to business venture, catering to elite athletes that says it may make its services available to everyone. Your responsibility as elected officials is to protect and enhance our existing recreational and parkland, not squander it away for revenue. Vote no to declaring the Komoka Community Center surplus and selling off additional parkland at this time. It is too valuable to the community, and this proposal does not guarantee enough benefits to offset the loss to the community. If council proceeds with this proposal, you will forever lose the community's trust, and valuable service groups may choose to fold or leave. The community has spoken very loudly that they oppose this facility to replace the existing parkland. If you choose to drive this stake into our community's heart, it will have a devastating effect on the spirit of volunteerism that has been the lifeblood of Komoka and the surrounding area for over 50 years. Everyone is aware how the proposal was presented to us with inaccurate figures and carefully selected statistics that don't stand up to scrutiny in an attempt to sugarcoat a very bitter pill. You can't even guarantee the actual impact, as there is no final plan. If you allow this to go forward, the local citizens will be forced to accept the result no matter what. The community has overwhelmingly demonstrated that they don't want this in their park. Council, trust your moral compass when deciding what is best for Komoka and area residents. I implore you to listen to them and vote no to declaring the Komoka Community Center an additional land surplus. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And we have Manili coming up next.
It makes it so easy. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and councillors. Again, like Paul Houghton and my husband, you have to listen to us. I do appreciate the time that you've given all of us in presenting our feelings towards the surplus Komoka Community Center and Parkland. I am a taxpayer in this community, a Komoka Kilworth optimist, and a Komoka Area 55 Plus club member. I am also on the committee to save the park, and I, amongst many others, are opposed to declaring the Komoka Community Center and Parkland surplus. Even though we realize that this plan has been in the works for a long time, I was not aware of it until about a few weeks ago. Since then, the word has spread and people have been made aware of the details to declare the Komoka Community Center and Parkland surplus and sell it to a commercial developer. I have verified that you, the municipality, have received strong opposition to your plan to declare the Komoka Community Center and Parkland surplus by the Delco Bridge Soccer and Minor Baseball Association, Seniors Apartment Residents, Komoka Kilworth Optimists, Railway Museum, Komoka Senior Apartments, Providence Reform Collegiate, and the Gateway Church, amongst many other ordinary citizens of this and surrounding communities. Many of our neighboring communities have rallied together with us and voiced their opposition to the plan by emailing the municipality, signing online and hard copy petitions, presenting at special council meetings and peaceful protests. In a short time, we have been rallied together. We've had 1,200 plus people voice their oppositions. Whether or not you accept that online petition or not, the people have spoken. It should be sending a very strong message to you. Listen to the people. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and councillors, you can't and shouldn't turn away from the people that you represent when they are telling you loud and clear, do not take our community center and parkland from us. They do not want Dr. Chan's recreational and entertainment facility on this site. If you want him, then find an appropriate commercial site for his business. Taking away the Komoka Community Center and Parkland doesn't follow your official plan where you promise to provide community and recreational services to match population needs that are both passive and active. That doesn't mean selling it off to commercial business. Dr. Chan is providing a for-profit private recreational facility on this site that does not match the population needs of this community or Middlesex Center. The Komoka Community Center fills the gap that the Wellness Center doesn't. Many people I have spoken to say the YMCA areas and the Wellness Center don't fill their needs and are too expensive. However you want to try to spin this, this is our community, and we will lose if you decide to proceed with selling off this property. We know it, and I think in your hearts, you know it too. Michael and Scott, you did what you were asked to do. However, I and others are not in agreement with all of the information and question what you have presented. You, the councillors, have the most important task of deciding this outcome. Again, you state in your official plan, you require that changes be compatible, which in your words, it relates to the ability to exist in harmony without creating an inappropriate anomaly or an undue physical or functional adverse impact with the surrounding area. The negative impact on the surrounding residential area has not been assessed. You think you can do it after, well, you're wrong. It will be too late. Areas to be properly studied are the impacts of traffic, noise, light pollution, property values, pedestrian safety, and safety for children. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and councillors, in years to come, as you walk away from your positions, you won't have to live with a negative effect or consequences if you choose to vote to proceed with a sale. But this community will. Do not put private business interests above the people you represent. Remember, As I said in my previous presentations, businesses come and go. Don't put them ahead of the community. Please make this a unanimous vote to oppose declaring the Komoka Community Center and Parkland surplus. Thank you very much. Ann Manili, 143 Simcoe Crescent, Komoka, Ontario.
Thank you, Mrs. Manili.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is Ms. Renee McGregor.
Through the chair, I would note that Ms. Renee McGregor has not joined the call, so we can remain to proceed to our next delegation. Thank you.
And that would be Ms. Jennifer Butts. Okay.
Yeah. Hello?
Hello, the floor is yours. We can hear you.
Sorry, I missed you call my name.
Not to worry, you're just coming on.
Trying to figure out the technology. So my name's Jennifer Butts, and I've been a resident here in Komoka since 2007. I'm a family of 3. I have a son who's 14, so he's been an active child in the community from Kilware to Komoka. And I myself have been an active volunteer in Komoka since he was born in 2008. I was fortunate to meet members of the Optimist Club when the new Westbrook Park splash pad came. And it was such a great addition to our community. And it was one of those things that I thought, maybe I want to be a part of all these great things that we can provide to our community. So I joined the Optimist Club. I've been very active in creating events. I've been fortunate to meet Scott. I've worked alongside Sue. I've been fortunate to deal with James. He's been fabulous in helping with permits and different things when I've had different events. But I just wanted to come on here and say that I've been active in trying to save the community center, and I wanted to show you. Yes, I might have used a logo that belongs to our municipality, but this sign, I think, says a lot about what our community wants. I say, what can we do? Can someone create a sign? Let's do something. Let's try and save our community center. So we created a hashtag to provide some information for people to become involved and see what you guys were proposing to surplus the community center. And believe it or not, between Wednesday at noon and Friday afternoon, I was able to sell 100 signs. So if that doesn't say to you guys that people want us to keep our community center and our parkland, I don't know what else to say. I could read my letter that was 11 pages long. I could tell you how many events that I've been involved with. I can complain about how the wellness center wouldn't work for us as a service club. But what I do want to let you know that it's really unfortunate if the community center closes, that one of the service clubs that has donated not both money to create the community center, but also when the wellness center came to be, we donated money to help whatever you need for the splash pad. We've donated money for trails. And this year it's our 50th anniversary. And if you guys vote no, what a shame for those people who've been involved for 50 years trying to do better for our community. I appreciate all the work that you all do. I hope that you took the time to read the letters that everyone wrote and take everything into consideration when you guys make your vote tonight. And thank you for your time to listen to what I had to say. Thank you.
And thank you. Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Paul Malmons to take the floor.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Malmons. The floor is yours.
Madam Mayor DeVete, Deputy Mayor Brennan, Councillor Arts. And just one moment, please. Councillor Cates, Councillor Heffernan, Councillor Scott, and Councillor Shipley. Thank you for again allowing us to provide our comments and concerns on the Komoka Community Center fate. Over the past month, you have received what seems like hundreds of comments, presentations, and concerns on the declaration that the Komoka Community Center is surplus, and all being opposed to that action. Let me be clear. The community and the people in Komoka Kilworth and the Komoka Community Center is not surplus. You have received a staff report on the proposal and what would be provided to the area if the Komoka Community Center is declared surplus and then sold to Dr. Chan's organization. I've analyzed the staff report and from that asked questions and provided comments as it relates to negative impact on the community. I have forwarded that to the clerk's office and hope you have read that. And if not, please do before deciding the Komoka Community Center is surplus, as it is not surplus. A sale of the Komoka Community Center and adjacent land is a loss of valuable facility to the community and a loss of 6 acres of parkland. Over the past month, you have received presentations on the history of the Komoka Park and the community center. You have heard and read of the passion by the community to build the Komoka Community Center nearly 50 years ago. You've listened to the experience of so many that have grown up knowing and using the community center and of their lasting memories, sitting on Santa's knee, singing "O Canada" on the Canada Day celebration, and so much more. These will disappear in our community if the staff recommendations are followed. You have heard the concern by the community about losing the public ownership of the tennis courts and pickleball courts. You've heard from the Optimist and the Komoka Seniors Apartments and others on their concern of losing the community center. If you drive through Komoka Kilworth area, you will have seen the dozens and dozens of signs saying, "Save our community center." There have been 2 rallies at the Komoka Community Center to show the community support in keeping the Komoka Community Center. The staff report stresses the cost of the Komoka Community Center in annual operating and capital investment. But these same costs apply to the other community centers in Middlesex Center as well, as they do to community centers in all municipalities. Will a staff report in the future recommend to declare the older Delaware Community Center surplus to accommodate a new development? The proposal highlights some of the existing amenities at the Komoka Park that would be relocated, but there would be a cost. If the small baseball diamond is relocated, it would occupy other land, so a loss of parkland, no matter where that might be. Basketball court relocation will occupy other land, so again, a loss of parkland. The current gazebo is often used by people waiting during sports events and often during the day for just sitting in a covered area while just walking by, and also by small groups of teens just being out with friends and socializing. It needs to be very visible in an upfront location, right where it is now. The relocation of the tennis courts would be in the backyard of the abutting private residence, and they would have to have the bright lights, court lights in their backyard. Currently, this is farther away and shielded. Relocating the current soccer field behind the community center to Kilworth would take up other land there, and again, a loss of parkland. Loss of parkland is in a steady growing community is opposite of what we would expect. The loss of the community center would be a great loss for people looking for a suitable site facility. The wellness center is not an option in most of these kinds of uses. The wellness center is a great facility for hockey and skating purposes. The upstairs rooms supplement the hockey events and smaller meeting rooms, but it does not serve the many community events that can be accommodated by the community center, such as larger banquets and social events. On behalf of the residents in the community, I plead to council to reject the staff proposal. I will gladly answer any question that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Malmons. I have Mr. Ron Nakamura next, please.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you if you'd like to make your comments, Mr. Nakamura.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak again today. Today, I'm acting in the capacity as the treasurer of the the Optimist Club of Komoka Kilworth. And the Optimist Club of Komoka Kilworth sent a letter to the mayor, deputy mayor, and all 5 councilors and the clerk expressing our opposition to this. And I'll read that resolution. Resolution from the Optimist Club of Komoka Kilworth. The Optimist Club of Komoka Kilworth oppose the community center as being surplus property and also oppose the sale of the Komoka Community Center and Parkland to a private developer. We further declare that the Komoka Community Center is necessary to meet the needs of the community and our club now and in the future. This had been previously communicated to the clerk and council in an email on April 5th. We wanted to formally restate our position in case there was any doubt as to our position. The Optimist Club of Komoka Kilworth, which is celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, has dedicated Komoka Kilworth community. Besides being involved in the initial fundraising, building, and upgrades to the Komoka Community Center, we have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been used over the years for various capital projects and youth organizations in our community. And we did attach a list of those. Without the community center, the Optimist would not be able to continue the 50-year tradition of the children's Christmas breakfast with Santa, attended by hundreds of people of all ages annually, not be able to host Canada Day, not be able to hold youth dances or sponsor youth events like the Easter egg hunt, not be able to hold or turkey or Canada Day, not have a home base to hold club meetings, to organize youth and fundraising events and dinner meetings, and not have a storage facility for supplies and materials for community events. And this was signed, yours truly, by Garvin Burt, the president of the Optimist Club of Komoka Kilworth. As I mentioned, there was a list followed of all the various projects that we've been involved with, both from the capital funding standpoint, the youth organizations that we've supported, and also the various community events we organized. And all of these would be in jeopardy if we lost the Komoka Community Center. I also wanted to point out some other things that I wrote in a separate email regarding the Komoka Community Center, the impact on the community. One is the future growth. I made the point in my presentation last week that the population of Komoka Kilworth is expected to triple in the next 25 years, according to Middlesex Center's own master plan, from 4,500 to 15,900. It's also important to note that the percentage of the total population that Komoka Kilworth represents of Middlesex Center will also grow during the time period from the current 25% to almost 45%. Eliminating a popular existing community facility like the Komoka Community Center during this tremendous growth does not make any sense. 2, in regards to the cost for maintaining the Komoka Community Center, the capital cost for upgrading is a small percentage of the total Middlesex Center capital budget, less than 3% in 2022. And the operating costs are even a smaller percentage of the total operating budget of Middlesex Center, less than 0.2% in 2022. Both these costs are justified on their merit, but are even more important as most of the increase in the residential tax base in our county will come from Komoka Kilworth. 3, on utilization. In addition to the number of hours per week that is utilized at the Komoka Community Center, you also need to consider the number of people who attend the events there. Many of the events, such as Breakfast with Santa, various craft markets, Canada Day, etc., at the Komoka Community Center draw hundreds of people to each event, as is evidenced by the full parking lot and cars parked up and down Queen Street. And it's people of all ages who attend these events. There is no other facility that can host these events in our community. So it doesn't make sense to eliminate a popular community center and these events will be lost forever from our growing community. And fourthly, age-friendly community action plan. Eliminating a community center is not consistent with Middlesex Center's own age-friendly community action plan, which stated that currently 1/3 of all Middlesex Center residents are 55 or older, and that will almost double in 25 years to 37% of the total population. Especially when that same report showed a survey that 52% of all Middlesex Center residents who are 55 or older currently reside in Komoka, Kilworth. So the loss of the community center will greatly affect the impact on that population. I thank you for the opportunity to talk, and I hope that the council and mayor and deputy mayor will vote no to the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. McNamara. The last person's name I have on the list here is Eric Debrese. Hello there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
You can go ahead with your comments.
okay, 1 second. Yeah, so to the mayor and the deputy mayor and the staff, here, if I can figure out a way to turn my screen on here. All right, thanks. So to the mayor, the deputy mayor, council and staff, thank you for taking the time for this meeting. As a young person, I thought that I should perhaps give my opinion on the proposal to declare the Komoka Community Center surplus and build a private for-profit commercial facility on the property. And I just thought that I'd let you know that I am opposed to this for a couple of reasons. And first, we would have the loss of some affordable, accessible community space for children and also for seniors. And second, to my knowledge, this proposal doesn't fit with the official plan, and it doesn't really fit the neighborhood at all. And it will also result in a fairly large loss of green space in the community. And third, it seemed that this was an unsolicited proposal, meaning that council or the municipality wasn't looking for a proposal, but one came up. And it seemed to be rather hastily being put to a meeting without enough time for public input. And yeah, what will the replacement for the KCC be? And as our population is growing, it's not shrinking. There's going to be a need in the future for more community space, not less. And where's that going to come from if we lose one of our facilities that's already here? And yeah, other than that, one other note I have here is from the plans, it looked like there was no community space available in the proposal that from or the designs of the new building anyways, and any space that would have been available for rent likely will be at a rental rate that's much higher than the current rate that it would be for the KCC, which also makes a barrier for accessibility for the residents. And yeah, that's kind of all that I would have to say. So thank you for your time. That's it. So
Thank you. I just want to check with the clerk. We did skip one person. Has Ms. McGregor joined us at all, or?
Through the chair, thank you for asking. I can confirm that Ms. McGregor has not joined the call at this time. So Ms. McGregor is not present at the virtual meeting.
Okay, well, in that case, our deadline for delegates to register for this meeting was at 4:30 on Tuesday, that is yesterday. But at this time, if there are any members of the public attending the meeting virtually who would like to provide additional brief remarks or comments on anything they've heard tonight or on the matter, if you would use your raise hand feature now, the clerk will make sure that you are admitted.
Through the chair, thank you. And I can confirm that our first speaker who has used the raise hand feature is Jim St. John, and we will bring Jim St. John on now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, it's Jim St. John here. Can people hear me now?
We can hear you, and you may go
All right.
ahead.
Thank you. As with last week, I'm going incognito, which I'm advised is a better way for me to do things. I have a couple of questions and a couple of, I guess you would call, follow-ups on the comments that I made last week. Number one, has an MVA analysis been done on this parcel? Or if not, will council commit to have one done? If not, again, why wouldn't council want to do this? Since I would hope that it would make it a more informed decision for both council and for the community of stakeholders that have brought this to your attention. In terms of the actual sale and so forth, it's understood that that the municipality has the right through council decisions to direct the sale for specific uses and so forth. However, I think it would be very good for the council to let people know, how much we might be, let's call it, quote unquote, sacrificing by going to a directed bid rather than just going with a regular market price bid, should council decide to dispose of our community center and a portion of our parkland. Secondly, in my comments last week, I raised the general question and the general opinion of two local builders that by the time this project and the trust fund, as it's been called, would come to fruition, if we're talking a minimum year of 3 years, that the actual shovel in the ground delivered product value of any dollars we receive today would be down by more than 50%. Based upon that, does council have any plans whatsoever on how to make good on the trust fund spending and how that's going to benefit the community? And as well, has anybody done any analysis on behalf of the municipality on whether my 53% number is valid, or whether there is an alternative, an alternate quote or estimate, whatever we're going to call it. Otherwise, if people never say my number of 53% is wrong, then who's to say that it's not correct? Those are all the direct comments that I have. If somebody wishes to have this in writing, let's say James Hudson or otherwise, please let me know, and I will make sure to send it directly to him. Any questions for me, or am I done?
I don't see any hands. That'll be that then. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there other people in the queue?
Through the chair, yes. Our next speaker is Robert Hepburn. We will bring Robert Hepburn onto the line now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you folks hear me okay?
Yes, we can. You may go ahead.
Well, I've only been here for about 1.5 years now. My wife and I moved here from London, and the reason we moved here was to get away from all the concrete. All the buildings going up all over London. Didn't matter where you went in the city of London, there's new construction going everywhere. The thing we really liked about Komoka is it's quiet. There's trees, it's beautiful. That's why we wanted to live here, and we love it the way it is. We definitely do not need another arena. There are places around, like Mount Bridges does need a new arena. Why doesn't this gentleman look at Mount Bridges for a place for his new facility? Because they need the arena at least. As I said, it's a beautiful place to live the way it is right now. And that's why we came here. And that's what we want to have to live in for the rest of our lives. So that's my 2 cents worth. I don't have any numbers to spiel out to you, but that's, for what it's worth, that's my statement. I hope you all vote no to this proposal. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Is there?
Through the chair, yes. Our next speaker who has used the raise hand feature is Lisa Tapp. We will bring Lisa Tapp onto the line now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I just wanted to add a very brief statement in sort of following this, and I did present or submit something in writing to the previous April meeting, just to be supportive of my community and the members who have come forward to speak on our behalf, that I would hope that you would vote no for declaring the Komoka Community Center as surplus. Being a resident in Kilworth, so I haven't really heard a lot of people speak from the Kilworth end of it. This is something that is detrimental in my mind for our community here. We are a part of Komoka. There's very limited green space these days everywhere you go. And that community center has been a mainstay for my family and myself for more than 20 years. So moving forward, as I certainly appreciate and understand there's growth, there's opportunity for business. For-profit businesses, I think we have enough. We certainly have several physiotherapists, several medical clinics, more being built from my knowledge, a new one beside the old site where the Little Beaver restaurant used to be. And it's my understanding that based on the signage in front of our very large home hardware, that there is yet another medical building, office building going there. So I'm hoping at some point you reflect on the number of emails and written submissions and online petitions and physical petitions, and listen to the residents of Komoka Kilworth and vote no. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I can confirm there are no additional speakers at this time. Thank you.
All right, then. That then means that we can now turn to council for comments, input, and okay, we'll start with you, Councillor Cates.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay, because I had some input that I'm okay. All right, thank you. And I might be a little early on this, but I don't want to forget that I'd like to ask for a recorded vote tonight. So what I would like, I'd like to, again, I want to say thank you to all that have spoken on this subject, sending your letters, signed the petitions, phone calls and messages, and sharing your thoughts and some history on what the Komoka Community Center and Komoka Park mean to you and your family. Thank you for speaking from the heart and keeping it kind. As I've already pointed out, 63% of the growth of Middlesex Center will be in Komoka Kilworth, including an estimated 9,900 additional residents by 2046. We need this green space. Once it is gone, we can never get it back. How can we make it smaller, all the while forecasting growth to such a degree? It is my hope that we can think of additional uses for our beloved Komoka Community Center, such as a youth program as we just opened in Ilderton. We need the space, and all of our Komoka Community Center provides for us. It's not an easy task to sit in these chairs as members of council, and we all did swear an oath to do what is best for the municipality as a whole. I, for one, feel that the people of my Ward 4 Komoka Kilworth have spoken in a loud, clear voice, and I, for one, do not feel that it is in the best interest of Middlesex Center to sell off municipally owned land, let alone this particular land. I realize in making my decision that the Komoka Community Center is budgeted for a number of updates and maintenance, but so are other community centers, mostly as a result of the recent provincially mandated asset management plan. Local community centers are not expected to make money. It is a service we provide for our communities. I would also like to point out, as taken from our Middlesex Center Age-Friendly Action Plan, local government have the responsibility to their citizens to create and support environments that provide the greatest benefit to the greatest number of residents. And we need to support people of all ages in achieving their everyday needs. The Komoka Community Center and Parkland is a huge part of that, and within easy walking distance for so many. Also, as stated in our Middlesex Center strategic plan, and as the sign says hanging in the Wellness Center, the vision is a thriving, progressive, and welcoming community that honors our roots and embraces our natural spaces. Some things should not be for sale, and this is one of them. Again, I want to thank Dr. Chant for considering Komoka for his proposal and to say that we do welcome you and all you would bring to Komoka, just not at our Komoka Community Center location. I hope you will reconsider a different location in our area. I will not be supporting a vote to declare the Komoka Community Center and a portion of Parkland as surplus, and I ask each of my fellow councillors, mayor and deputy mayor, to please support us and consider a vote against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go to Councillor Arts next. I see your hand, Councillor Scott.
Through you, Madam Mayor. After weeks of listening, it's finally my turn to speak. When first presented with this proposal, I was in favor of it. Upon further reflection, I will not support it. That being said, we have some issues that need to be addressed for all of our community centers. Community centers are public service and they operate at a loss. As a counselor, I understand that. The question that needs to be addressed is, what is an acceptable loss? From an accounting perspective, we need to factor in both operating and capital expenses. As I've gotten older, I realize that I have a moral obligation to society, and that comes at a financial cost. But there comes a point where I've financially given enough to a specific cause. This analysis is also relevant to municipal councils. We need to have fees that are affordable to the less affluent, but we also want to aim to have revenue cover a certain percent of our costs. Somewhere there's a happy spot. To get to that happy spot will probably involve a combination of promoting more usage and increased fees. We need to sit down with all the parties from all the community centers to sit down and come up with an acceptable business plan. During the past month, a lot of things have been said. Almost all of it's been constructive criticism, and I can deal with that. But some has gone way past the point of being polite. To Dr. Chant, I would like to express a sincere apology for any discomfort he has experienced during this process. As for our municipal staff, it is part of their job to bring forward proposals for council for us to consider. And I have my utmost respect for our staff, and I find it insulting when their integrity is questioned. When I started this job as a counselor, I was curious to how much time I would spend on matters related to Middlesex Center. So I started a logbook. There's 173 weeks from January 1, 2019 to May 1st, 2022. In that time, I've logged on 2,181 hours, which works out to 12.6 hours per week. The deputy mayor and the mayor have more municipal duties and county duties. It would not surprise me if the deputy mayor averages around 25 hours a week and the mayor is probably over 35 hours per week. They put a lot into their decisions, and I'm not happy how a select few have vented on them. Some of the things that have been said have gone beyond the bounds of civility, and that bothers me. That bothers me a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arts. And Councillor Scott, I think you had your hand up. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
You're coming in loud and clear.
Oh,
all
wow.
good.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. Anyway, yes, I just have a few comments too, and I'll keep it brief. I really appreciate the outreach from the public and then their passion for the community center. And I also wanted to confirm and clarify that it certainly was not my intent, or I'm sure any other councillor's intent, to betray or trick anyone in this proposal. So I didn't like hearing that either, because we really hear it's a tough job, as Councillor Arts says, and we're trying to do the right thing. We're not here to trick anybody, but I really appreciate people reaching out, because it told me, hey, I want to listen, and we did. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. And I'm actually truly really happy to hear all the support for the Komoka Community Center, because it sends a clear message to me that our residents are willing to help us going forward to help save and preserve all our aging community centers in the future. So I think that's awesome. You know what I mean? And it actually sends a message to me, and I guess to the other councillors too, that we can maybe get more people involved in this procedure, because it is expensive to keep these up and going. I love the idea if we want to get involved and do that. I certainly think it'll be a real big help to the budget committee, because it won't be any questions asked here. We'll be able to say clearly, well, we know what Komoka feels about the community centers. I'm sure Delaware would be the same, because like I said, we talked about it being an aging center. So I think it'll really give us some help to to budget properly for it. And maybe we can come up with some great new ideas to make them even more useful. So anyway, I just wanted to say that part, and thanks again for speaking up.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Councillor Heffernan, go ahead.
For the mayor, to everyone, I'm very pleased that so many people joined in and took the time to write letters and comment here. And it's, for the most part, they're very well spoken. I do agree with Councillor Art's comment and Councillor Scott with regard to some things were just out of line. However, I did learn a lot that, there's the Komoka Community Center and there's the Wellness Center, and there are definite differences. And it was sort of brought to the front of everyone exactly what they are. I would also like to mention that years ago in Ilderton, we lost some land in our Heritage Park for the medical center, as it happened. Now, there was a reason for that. We got a grant and it had to be on municipal lands. But the end result is that we maintain the ownership of the land. So the medical center rents their building from the municipality. But we did lose the soccer field and had to rearrange some of the land. I think Dr. Chant's proposal is a wonderful project, and I would definitely like to see it go forward in Middlesex Center, but perhaps just not at this particular location. So I will be voting no as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments, observations? Yes, Deputy Mayor Brennan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Definitely, as everybody has said previous to me, this decision is not being taken lightly by anybody. And I would like to echo the thoughts that staff has had to endure some criticism, but just to make sure everybody is aware that staff responds to council's request. Everything that staff has done on this project has been what council has wanted them to do, to bring the project forward, to give us the information, follow the procedures, and at the proper time, bring it forward to the community. So that, I just want to say that has been followed by staff. So any criticisms about how this was presented or how it was gone about lays on council's lap, not staff. So I just wanted to make that perfectly clear. I had the opportunity to go down to Komoka last night and talk to Mr. Paul McNeely. We went for a stroll. I was there for approximately an hour. We talked. And one thing that he requested, that perhaps we needed to everybody sit down at the table, staff, Mr. Chant, the public, the organizations, and see what we could come up with. Unfortunately, I think that opportunity has gone now, because obviously Mr. Paul McNeely, and I spent an hour this morning getting that organized and maybe going to bring it forward, but now it's not going to happen because Mr. McNeely obviously has decided he doesn't want any more input. He hasn't indicated that it's something he wants to do now. So I did reach out to him. We did chat. That was his main request. I followed up on it, but it didn't materialize to the point that it's going to happen now. This is an opportunity for Middlesex Center. And I just don't want to lose the opportunity. I don't want to lose Mr. Chant. I think with other things that are going on in the community, this is a nice fit for the community. and who knows what else it could bring to the community. I don't think we can ever have enough commercial industrial businesses in the municipality to support the tax base, whether it's a second, third, fourth medical center. Obviously, there's a need for it. If these people are bringing it forward, it's something that is needed by the people. And I think that's what drives these, any business or anything that wants to locate in Middlesex Center is because there is a need there. So having said that, I want this facility. I support it. And I certainly hope that we can somehow keep it in Middlesex Center. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Very well, then I'm going to read the motion and ask for a mover and seconder to table it. The motion is that report CAO number 10, 2022, regarding the declaration of surplus property, Komoka Community Center be received, and that the municipality of Middlesex Center exercises discretion and deem it desirable to declare the Komoka Community Center at 133 Queen Street property as surplus to the municipality, and that the municipal staff be directed to draft an agreement of purchase and sale with Dr. Chris Chan for the surplus property and report back to council for review and comment. And further, that council decide to sell the surplus property in accordance with the purchase and sale, that staff be directed to create a reserve fund for the community of Komoka Kilworth based on proceeds of the sale of Komoka Community Center. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder, please. We need to table the motion if we're going to vote on it. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brennan and Councillor Shipley. Okay, and I just want to make a couple of comments about a recorded vote. As was indicated earlier, this has been asked for. If there's a recorded vote, so the phrase is, are you in favor of declaring this building surplus? Okay, so that's what I just read in a long way. So if a councillor votes yes, it is a vote to declare the building surplus, and a no vote is going to be to not declare it surplus. The clerk is going to go through the members of council in an order by stating their name and asking for their vote in favor or opposed. And I will then announce the results of the recorded vote and turn the meeting back then after the clerk, will read that result, and then he'll turn the meeting back over to me. So sorry, I'm getting a little confused here, but is that clear about the opposed and in favor? And then the clerk will take over
through the chair. I'm gonna
vote, and then we'll get back to business here. So I'll turn, we have the motion. So I'll turn it over to you, clerk, to conduct the vote.
Through the chair. I'm just going to summarize what was mentioned there. Thank you. Councillor Cates has requested a recorded vote on item 6.1. Accordingly, I will call on members of council in order of ward, followed by the deputy mayor and mayor. And I'll ask that you state that you're either in favor or opposed to the motion. And I will do that beginning now. Councillor Heffernan for Ward 1, are you in favor or opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you. Councillor Shipley.
Opposed.
Thank you. Councillor Ertz.
Opposed.
Thank you. Councillor Cates.
Opposed.
Thank you. Councillor Scott.
Opposed.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brennan. Sorry, Deputy Mayor Brennan, I'll just ask you to unmute, please.
In agreement.
Thank you.
Yes to the motion.
Thank you. Mayor DeVete.
Opposed.
Thank you. Accordingly, that motion fails on a recorded vote 6-1. I now turn the meeting back to you, Mayor DeVete. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just make a couple of comments here before we move to the adoption of minutes and all the mundane things. I too want to acknowledge the time, effort, comments, and work in compiling input for the process from residents, community, club members, and other individuals in our area, as well as the proponents who came forth with a proposition and a plan and an idea for us to consider. And I don't want to forget also staff or council. A lot of energy has been expended in asking questions and trying to understand and evaluate and analyze everything. So I think a lot of effort has gone into it. And I'll also comment that a lot of listening has been going on, and that makes me feel, I take comfort in that, because I think everyone always has an opportunity to learn from everything. And I think one of the other things that may come out of this is there have been various considerations and variables that have been looked at. Ideas and perspectives have been brought forward. I think all of us can go away and think about ways of how things can be moved forward. And I think the letters with the content and ideas and how to use things, that's food for thought and input into next steps, regardless of how they unfold in what time frame. So I think ongoing learning is really important, and nothing ever stays the same. So I think everyone taking time to go through this whole exercise is probably gained from having done that. I think the other councillors have touched on a wide number of other points that I thought were worth mentioning. So I'm not going to go through those again, but I just wanted to add that and add my thanks to everyone for all the work they've done. Moving on now to the adoption. Oh, sorry, Councillor Shipley, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is this the right time to give staff direction or make a motion? I'd like to see staff continue working with Mr. Chant and see if we come up with a location, Middlesex Center, whatever the clerk suggests, a motion or whatever you're thinking, James.
You can make the motion that you're directing staff to continue dealing with the proponent to assist in finding a suitable location. Does that sum it up?
Yes, that's correct. The Middlesex Center.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, in Middlesex Center, of course. Yes. That motion, okay. Councillor Cates is seconding that. I'll call a vote on that then. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, then that is unanimously adopted. Is that satisfactory, Mr. Clerk, the motion? And
through the chair, yes, I think we just heard a motion clearly put on the table and dispersed and approved, and that motion was that staff be directed to continue to work with the proponent to explore sites within Middlesex Center. So I believe that is now taken for staff direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the minutes then of April 27th, and the motion before us is that the minutes of the meeting of April 22nd, 2022, special council, be adopted as printed. If I could have a mover, please, and a seconder. Councillor Heffernan and Councillor Cates. Is anyone opposed? I don't see any hands, and that is carried then. All right, and correspondence. Oh yes, we have to receive correspondence from additional correspondence has been received since we had our last meeting. So we need a motion that council receives the correspondence items listed on our May 4th, 2022 special council agendas information. If I could have a mover, please, and a seconder for that. Councillor Cates, Councillor Shipley. Is anyone opposed? And seeing no hands, that is adopted then. Alrighty, and finally, we need to move that bylaw 2022 number 49 be adopted as printed. Councillor Heffernan, Councillor Arts, anyone opposed? I don't see any hands, that is carried then. I need a motion that council for the municipality of Middlesex Centre adjourns the May 4th, 2022 council meeting at 7:14 p.m. A mover, please, and a seconder, Councillor Scott and Councillor Shipley. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, then we stand adjourned. Thank you again, everyone, for coming on tonight. And we'll see you later. Enjoy your time